Michelle Hartley here. This is my Engaging Striving Readers assignment. It is April 20th, 2025. This is for EDRE 678 in the spring of 2025 for Karen Roth. My process. So my process for selecting students. As someone who does not have their own classroom yet, I got really lucky with this assignment. I'm currently the administrator of a community center in Sterling, and we offer our facility to a large group of homeschool parents and their children every week. They come in several times a week as a large group for different activities. They use the kitchen for home economics instruction. They use the gymnasium for physical education to get their PE hours and credits. And our conference room library is used for their reading and writing workshops a couple days a week. So I approached the homeschool parents and I explained this assignment, and I asked them if I could observe their students during their group reading activities and work with a few of them individually on reading engagement to complete it. And the parents were more than happy to allow the activity and even asked me for some information on book choice and engagement and aligning books with interests. So anyway, the reading group typically only meet for these reading groups on Wednesdays and Fridays. I did 3 visits in total, March 26th, 28th, and April 2nd. The first visit was focused only on observation, while most of the homeschool students that I observed seemed on track and fully engaged in the reading activities. I quickly recognized some conduct that kind of piqued my interest. At the beginning of each session, the whole group participated in a chapter book read aloud, while individual students were pulled out one at a time to read out loud to an adult for about 5 minutes. The adult they were reading to asked them some comprehension questions and appeared to be monitoring fluency. But during that one-on-one reading, I paid close attention to the reading behaviors that students were displaying, along with their overall engagement and the strategies that they were using or not using in some cases. Based on those observations, I identified 5 students to do interest inventories with. And once I completed those, I selected 3 of those students to use as my foci for this assignment. Student number 1 was a 6-year-old boy named, I'll just name him TK. He displayed poor fluency and he had some difficulty with phonics throughout his turn at reading aloud. He was very disengaged from the whole reading activity. He did not want to sit with the group. The chapter book that the class was listening to, it was by the great Hornspoon, did not interest him at all, and he was fidgeting and distracting himself the entire time. I did an interest inventory with him. It revealed, among other things, that he was not too sure if he liked school. His favorite book is If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Who doesn't love that book? And that cats are his favorite animal. He stated that they have 4 cats at home, and he ran to get his mom's phone so he could show me a picture. I combined the information from my observation and the interest inventory, and I selected the following 3 books for him. Book number 1 was Pete the Cat. I Love My White Shoes. It's a fun story. In the Pete the Cat collection, Pete keeps getting his white shoes dirty as he steps in all kinds of different colored things like mud and blueberries. The overall message, though, is about staying positive regardless of what happens to you. My rationale was that I like this book. I like that it uses a lot of easy-to-read words and repetitive phrases. I felt like that made it more accessible to TK. I also think that all the Pete the Cat books have pretty engaging illustrations that help bring the story to life. And I could tell that they captured TK's attention right off the bat. Using a book like that that has rhythmic storytelling and the interactive elements like asking questions about colors and counting. Gives students opportunities to participate and have even more engagement. Cat number 2, Splat the Cat. So if you don't know this book, it's great. Splat is pretty anxious about his first day of school, so he decides to bring along his pet mouse, which later escapes and wreaks havoc in the school. In the end, he learns that he's got friends, that he's a pretty cool guy, and that school is pretty fun. And my rationale for that is that the Splat the Cat books are pretty easy to read, and the stories are pretty relatable. They're designed for beginning readers, which was important for TK, I felt. And I also felt that Splat's unsure feelings about school would be something he could relate to. And then, of course, there's the cat aspect. Splat the Cat is a likable and relatable character. He's always got some kind of anxiety about something going on. And I think that the social and emotional sides of it, like friendship and problem solving, etc., those are all good things for a striving reader to read about. Book number 3, If You Give a Cat a Cupcake. This book, if you know the If You Give a books, you might recognize the Gray Kitten because he makes a cameo or has a supporting role in the other books. Anyway, just like the other books, if you give him a cupcake, it's gonna lead to funnier and bigger requests. The reason that I chose this, obviously, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie was his favorite book, and cats are his favorite animal, so this seemed like it checked a lot of boxes. We have, the cat thing, and then we also have the If You Give a Mouse thing. I thought it would be perfect, just based on that interest inventory. The fact that it's simple yet super engaging, that was also a big part of my choice. The if-then structure of the story makes it easy for students like TK to follow and predict what's going to happen next. It reinforces literacy skills. It's also funny and silly, and the escalating antics of the cat or the mouse or the moose, depending on which book you're reading, always makes students laugh. So I did do a follow-up interview. I put my follow-up interview questions as one of the attachments in this presentation, so you'll be able to see the kinds of questions that I was asking the students. I did find out that his favorite of the 3 books that we shared was the Pete the Cat book. The most interesting part was when Pete's turned black to white. And I asked him about recommending the book, and he said yes, and I said why, and he said because of the singing parts. He really enjoyed those parts. And then I asked him what he might like to read in the future, and his answer was more books about cats. So that was very interesting. I feel like the next steps for TK are to continue to work on phonological and phonemic awareness and fluency. Maybe use a hot-cold read, like a self-graphing tool that he can chart himself, and continue to use book choice and teach to his interests to keep him engaged in the learning activities. Also, maybe introduce a new enrichment activity often after new books, like retelling, reflections, maybe letters to the author or a character, illustrations, games. Any of those I think he would benefit from greatly. Student number 2. The second student I identified was a 5-year-old boy. I'm going to call him GS. He displayed an overall unwillingness to read at all. At the beginning, he tried to avoid the reading activity altogether by complaining pretty loudly and trying to negotiate with the adult to come up with an alternative activity for him. He was really hoping it would be Legos. When it was clear that he would be taking a turn, he expressed frustration, and when he asked to read, you could just tell he was not happy. Once he began, he was obviously struggling, even though the book was almost all short vowel words, and he lost interest in the whole activity pretty quickly. I could tell there was an underlying sense of discouragement. What I found during his interest inventory were that his favorite animal was sharks. The most important things in his life were his mom and his friends. And his favorite book was the Spider book. And he couldn't tell me the name of the book, and he trailed off when I asked him what the book was about. When I asked what things he might like to read in the future, he said sharks very loudly again. So for book number 1 was What If We Had a Pet Shark? This is just a book. A little girl named Ellie comes home from a field trip to the zoo, and she asks her mom the title question. The discussion follows about what, anyway, they explore a lot of ideas about what kinds of animals like sharks, snakes, skunks, bears, giraffes. It's a rhyming book. It's fun to read. It's got cute illustrations. My rationale was that I liked that it was a rhyming book. Rhyming books are typically more engaging for 5-year-olds. It's not just about sharks. There's a lot of other zoo animals. As his engagement, I could see his engagement growing, he began to ask about other animals that were not in the book, like platypus and beavers and eagles. I thought that the rhyming text in the book might act as a hook and could potentially make it more appealing and engaging, while also being easy for him to follow and enjoy. And I think it did those things. I think anytime you get that age level thinking about silly choices, that it's going to boost engagement. And this book had a playful tone, which made it a really good choice for, reading it aloud to him. And it's fun and whimsical, and it was positive. I think it created a positive experience for both him and me. Book number 2, Diary of a Spider. So, this is a book, it's a comical book. It follows the spider's daily life. It's in the form of a journal entry, and it touches on the life cycle of a spider and how it translates to humans. I chose this one, obviously. His favorite book is some book about a spider. Luckily, it was not this one. It checked all of the spider, the family, the friends boxes. I also thought that he could pick up on the hints. Like, it doesn't come out and say, did you know that spiders, blah, blah, blah. There aren't, blatant facts, but they kind of hint to them a little bit. Like, he molts at one point, but which is a pretty cool spider fact. Anyway, I thought that GS would be able to pick up on those, and he did not disappoint. He definitely did pick up on some of those, so that was fun. And he really liked that it was the perspective of this, of life through the eyes of the spider. Like, the spider goes to school, he does all the kid things, but it's a spider. His best friend is a fly, which I'm not really sure how that works. It's part of a series, too. That's another big reason why I chose it, because I thought, if he likes it, then I could recommend the book to, recommend the other books in the series to him. And yeah, it talks a lot about Spider's friend Fly, and I thought that adding a theme of friendship to the book choice for him would also help engage him, since friends were pretty important to him. Number 3, Walter the Whale Shark. I found one more shark book, and Walter the Whale and his tiny teeth. Or the whale shark, excuse me. It's a children's picture book. It's about the whale shark. He feels pretty self-conscious about his small teeth. All of the other sharks have pretty large teeth. It talks, I don't know, all the themes are there. Self-acceptance, being your own person, finding the positive things about you. Walter initially tries to blend in by like trying to pretend to be like the other sharks, but he also learns that his unique features are what make him special. So, and my rationale was that this book definitely, this kid is shark crazy, so that was a huge piece of it. But it also has a positive message about confidence, and I felt like it was relatable and engaging for his age group. It's also great because it can spark conversations about individuality and self-esteem. It's a good book for that. Moving on, my follow-up interview findings. His favorite book that we talked about was The Diary of a Spider, or that we shared. The most interesting part was when Spider molted. It's pretty funny. He would definitely recommend, when asked why, he said because of the spiders, because it has spiders. And when I asked him what he might like to read in the future, he was unsure. So I did recommend the rest of the spider stories to him. I didn't have any with me, but I told him, like, next time you go to the library, you know, see if they have any of the Diary of a Spider books. And so he was pretty excited about that. He stated that the most interesting part was when he molted, but he said it was funny too, because did you know spiders really do that? So that was cool. I liked that. Next step recommendations, I would say continue to boost his reading confidence and engagement through book choice and interests. And because of his hesitation to read, maybe do a lot of discussion activities after reading. Don't overwhelm him with, too many graphic organizers or extra reading and writing activities. Offer more choice in how he responds to reading. And maybe try to gamify some of the activities that you do. I also think that pre-reading activities for whatever books are chosen for him would be a good thing for him. And then, of course, a lot of positive reinforcement. I think he needs it. Okay, the third student I identified was a 6-year-old girl whom I will call RM. She read with almost no errors when I observed her, and I secretly thought the adults should have given her something a little more challenging. She seemed interested in the content, though. The interest inventory findings, she was very quick to tell me that her favorite animal is an elephant. This is before I even asked. She told me, my favorite animal is an elephant, and pizza is my favorite food. Before I could even begin, which told me that she was listening to me talk to the other 2 boys during their interest inventories while she was listening to the group read aloud. So she's definitely a multitasker. When I asked her about her favorite book, she said very proudly, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales, which I think that's a great book too. When asked what is the most important thing to you, she said friendship. When I obviously, her favorite animal is an elephant. I already told you that part. So first book for her was Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. It's a creative story. It gets the reader involved by asking them for help. A bus driver asks the reader to keep an eye on his bus while he's gone, and he leaves explicit directions to not let the pigeon drive the bus no matter what. So the pigeon spends the entirety of the book attempting to get the reader to let him drive the bus. I chose this book because I thought it would be thought-provoking, and when the point of view shifts to you, the reader, I think it makes you think about things, and it doesn't happen very often that you get to play a role in a book that somebody else wrote, and I think that's fun for kids. Also, I think it makes a natural path for one of my other book choices for her, but in this book, like I was talking about, you get to experience the 3 points of view, the driver, the pigeon, and then you. and that's pretty rare. In the past, when I've given my students opportunities to explore different perspectives, it's encouraged engagement, and most of them leave seeking more books that do that. I did not think the text in the book would be challenging for her, and it wasn't, but it was the questions that I could ask during and after reading it, I guess, that I felt were challenging. Next is, of course, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Like, I had to pick this one because Stinky Cheeseman is her favorite book, and this is just right on that same level. So, also a really great book. It's a cute and silly retelling of the Three Little Pigs story. It's retold from the perspective of the wolf. He recounts how he is and always has been innocent. He says he was framed, and he claims he was only looking for some sugar to borrow. I chose this book based on several factors, the obvious one being the topic and the author, but I thought it would be great follow-up to her favorite book, and I could already tell that she had a higher attention span, which this book kind of requires. There's a lot of innuendos and stuff that not every reader would pick up on, and she definitely had a higher reading level, which this one, she did not read this whole book. I read the book, although I did point to some words and had her read some words, so but it was good. Book number 3, I Will Surprise My Friend. So it's another Elephant and Piggy book. In this book, the friends have a difficult time surprising each other. They both know a surprise is coming, which makes it really hard to surprise each other. I chose to include another Mo Willems book to play off of the first one, but while the reading level was definitely below her capabilities, I felt like the introduction of a series that was all about friendship would be a good book to boost her engagement. So I did not do a follow-up interview with RM. My next steps for her would be to focus on extending her reading comprehension and her critical thinking and writing skills, engaging in discussions. She's definitely got what it takes. If we were, I think they could just continue to challenge her. Continue to recommend books that are challenging yet enjoyable so that you're still encouraging that love of reading. And don't leave her out of read-alouds. Like a lot of people leave the kids that are above level, they just leave them out of the read-alouds, but she needs to hear examples of good fluency and proper pronunciation and unknown words, and just continue to build comprehension. So maybe try introducing nonfiction. That might be something I would do. And I would also try to connect her to like-minded classmates to increase the excitement level around books and reading. What I learned from this process. I hadn't realized the significant difference that book choice would have on reading engagement until taking this class. With this assignment specifically, I could see that students had a deeper connection with the material than they would have if I had just picked a random book to read with them. I think that deeper connection gave them a sense of accomplishment, and I can see how they were immediately more invested and they were putting forth more effort. They were 100% more actively involved in the learning process. I noticed a definite change between the parent that was leading the read aloud, that was reading a book that they had no real connection to, and then reading the books that I chose for them that were interest-based. When students read books that align with their interests, like, it only makes sense that they would enjoy the experience more, which in turn has a greater potential of leading them to a love for reading, along with a deeper connection and greater retention. After completing the assignment, I definitely think that I need to step out of my comfort zone and gain some experience with older elementary students, maybe even middle school or high school. Like, I have experience with those grades as a para and as a substitute, but I've never really had any exposure to literacy development at those age levels. Definitely not assessment, and definitely not book selection. I also think I need to get some boots on the ground experience with selecting just right books for all levels, because I feel like that the books that I selected might not have matched the student's level or ability every time. So I think I'm just going to pursue some more experience in that. I think I nailed it some of the time, just maybe not all 9 times. So I have a reference page here for you, and I have the parent permission slip that I used, my interest in, and my post reading interview questions, and that is it. Thank you so much for a great class. I really enjoyed myself, and I learned a ton. So thank you for that. Have a great summer.